Hallo. Ich bin Milena Glimbovski, war schon richtig. Und ich habe so eine These, dass nicht alle Selbstdarstellung im Internet unbedingt schlecht sein muss. Meine These ist nämlich, dass auch Selbstdarstellung was Gutes bewirken kann, nämlich auf Instagram. Deswegen auch der Titel vom Instagram-Hippie zum Öko-Aktivisten in 6 Schritten. Also eine kleine Anleitung, die ich heute euch mit an die Hand gebe. Warum ich heute hier stehen darf, das frage ich mich auch manchmal. Genau, ich habe einen Laden. Ich habe einen Laden in Kreuzberg, den habe ich vor 4 Jahren aufgemacht. Der heißt Original Unverpackt. Ich muss kurz fragen, wer von euch hat schon mal von gehört? Wow, alle Hände gehen hoch, sehr gut, Hausaufgaben gemacht. Ja, Original Unverpackt, wie ihr wisst, ist ein Laden, wo man Lebensmittel ohne Verpackung einkaufen kann und auch andere Sachen, ökologische Produkte, die man für den Alltag braucht. Und daher habe ich mich seit 5, 6 Jahren jetzt angefangen mit Zero Waste und diesem ökologischen Lebensstil beschäftigt. Noch kurz zu mir zur Person. Ich habe mich nicht nur draußen am Catering vergnügt. Es gibt eine tolle vegane Currywurst. Ich bin tatsächlich auch schwanger. 5. oder 6. Monat. Ich muss noch nachgucken, welche Woche genau. Und ich habe ein Buch gemacht, das heißt Ein guter Plan. Das ist ein Kalender. Und meine Expertise habe ich dann endgültig bewiesen in meinem Meisterwerk Ohne Wenn und Abfall heißt das. Ach so, ich habe ein Ding hier. Genau, Ohne Wenn und Abfall, da habe ich dir ein bisschen unsere Geschichte erzählt und was Zero Waste eigentlich ist. Darüber reden wir aber heute nicht. Das ist genug meiner Selbstdarstellung für heute.
Okay, so that's enough about me. We're talking about zero waste. The 5 words that we can see up there is the firsts of zero waste. Refuse. If somebody hands me their card, I would rather take a picture. Reduce is the second. Look at what you really need. Reuse is like use things again. So if I want to have like slick legs, I don't take a one-way razor. I take a multiple-time razor. So like reuse. Recycle is obviously something that is also within this compost. That's zero waste. That's a philosophy. You try to minimize garbage in your average daily life as much as you possibly can. Well, I'm not even nervous really, but like every once in a while the baby kind of mirrors and it just brings it all up. All right, so, zero waste. Why all this fun? It started, I mean, it comes from the industry, from an industrial kind of circumstances. There's an American housewife, Beatrice Johnson, who said that I don't just want, with an industrial circumstance, to live without waste. I also want to do that in my daily life. So she found ways to do that in her daily life. As a mother, how she can live a life that's much more eco-friendly. So she kind of gave birth to this movement. And it was Lauren Singer. A lot of you might know her. She's a New Yorker. She is the one who has this jar of garbage and she holds it in the camera and then goes viral, and you all might have heard of her. You probably did. So those are kind of the most well-known faces of the zero waste scene. And that's a bit of a backstory. So do I really need to explain why plastic is kind of dumb and stupid? We all know. Maybe I should do and take a step back and explain it. So plastic is generated from oil, and that is a limited resource on the planet. Obviously, to generate it, it takes a lot of energy, and to then also turn it into one-way packaging and stuff like that. They were being in short use, and then they go into the trash, and then we think, it's not that bad. I mean, it's put into recycling, it's not really that bad. But the problem that we have in Germany, we're the kings of recycling. But the main problem is that plastic is only recycled in this shape, in this big standard, so that it can be reused to 20%. 80% is being downcycled, so it's being burned or it's been shipped abroad. And maybe you've read the newspaper headlines a couple months ago that China also kind of says, oh, we don't really want your trash anymore. And that's over. So we really have to find better solutions. All right. So if plastic is not being recycled and it gets into the oceans of the global seas, and like 22% of the plastic that is being produced worldwide ends up in the ocean. And you have to imagine that they are then broken up into microparticles that are then being ate by fish, and then these fish are fished, and then they end up back on our plates. So that summarizes the horror scenarios. And now we're going to start with a recipe that you're probably all here for. So there is 6 factors that makes people want to join a group, and that's what smart scientists found out. Little step actually used the female word in German, and she's now explaining that she's using that in order so that she's trying to include women, and obviously men are included in this term, and she's asking everyone not to take it personally. All right, so scientists have discovered that there's push factors that will bring people towards a group. The feeling that something important is in danger and you want to change something. Another feeling is that the people up there, the politicians and everybody who has to say something, are not doing anything against it. They see the danger, but they don't really take care of it. And the pull factors that brings things into people is the feeling of belonging, to see a sense in what you're doing, and the challenge and adventure of something new that you can develop. Those are kind of the arguments that I can understand quite well, why people would join a community or a group. But that's not just like that with zero waste. It's like most trending groups, like ISIS. It's exactly the same. All right, so some zero waste people come from other communities. So they might have lived as vegans before, or they were part of the slow living community and kind of were already putting their best effort forwards. But a lot of people join this community have never had anything to do with like an eco lifestyle or a green lifestyle. They used to have the paper cup. They drove cars. They didn't really take care of any of this. So, but with time, when you're hanging out on social media, you kind of come across these viral videos with whales that are beached, and you see these shocking images. And so maybe you see a documentary on Netflix and you end up there because you were too high to change the channel. Like every once in a while you'll come across these things, and often you trip over these things, over these videos, over these images, and those are kind of like little drops on the hot stone, and all of a sudden you become interested and you think about what you can change in your daily life. And then they come across zero waste. And that is the first step, in my honest opinion, that you come across these things, and that's when you start concerning yourself. You all of a sudden are checking out blogs, you follow Instagrammers, and just to inform yourself.
So I can actually use something I learned at university. I learned communication science in Berlin, and one term was framing. Framing means that you see the frame of the content, and the frame on these zero waste contents are usually or often Instagram, and they're really aesthetic, and they are mainstream, and they're sexy. When I thought about ecological interested people in earlier days, they were just like eating grains and sunflower seeds and Birkenstocks and anti-nuclear stickers. And if you look at Instagram on the hashtag, and you click on the hashtag, and you have well-styled cupboards and nice stuff, and it's a completely different world. Ecological life is not boring anymore, it's hip. I might have pushed something wrong here. That doesn't matter. Well, this lifestyle is pretty photogenic, and I think this is why it works on Instagram. It's really aesthetic if you think like plastic is cheap. If you have a zero waste philosophy, if you have some kind of value in the products, they're usually made of stainless steel. They're really beautiful, and these are really nice in the Instagram profile. The second thing is, why? Good timing. The second step is many people starting with zero waste. They make their own post, everyone posts here and there, and I've had this, I've been there, travel pictures. But this is like, okay, I've been shopping. This is the blogger, the wasted blog. Look, this is my unwrapped shopping, and it's really great. And it's fun. Well, and many people do it like this. They make a post how they just reduce trash, and they choose, for example, hair soap instead of shampoo. And this, I chose this picture because it's not a classical selfie, but it's more like a kind of selfie. I put up a camera and just click the button. But a selfie is a special role in our how we see us on our own, especially women. Selfies might be feministic as well. There's a nice TED talk by Mary McGill. It's young women, narcissism, and selfie phenomenon, and it's all about selfies being nice, and we women are using them. We're trained for thousands of years by male people. We were just objects in photography and arts, and every one of us has a camera and can take a picture of yourself, and we can show us how we want us to be, and we can show how we are and what we are, and it gives us a special power, and it empowers us, and it shows us that we can do something. I'm part of a movement. I'm a reflective consumer. This is step 3. The search for same-thinking people. Well, you go out and you want to learn, and this is a screenshot of the Zero Waste Berlin group, where people find each other and they meet and they spread events, and you are all early adopters. I don't have to explain it to you. Facebook is dead. You know that, right? Okay. But Facebook is also alive. Facebook is Jesus. Facebook lives in groups. Facebook groups are something I really spend a lot of time in, and because you can learn a lot and you have exchange and you meet people with the same topics and completely different thoughts you don't know, which is really great about these. There's groups that start with one person. My favorite groups are like 100 to 200 people, and they go up onto the 100,000s. I usually have like groups that are about 2,000 members. Members is gender neutral because they are specific enough to stick to the topic, and people are still pretty nice, and they don't turn away from the topic. And these small groups make it possible to have an exchange, to exchange recipes, to grow as a group. And it's like the Zero Waste Berlin group, some example I will talk about later. There's YouTube. We all know YouTube. It's nice to see the videos. You shouldn't look at the comments. It's usually not so nice. And there's Instagram. Instagram is colorful and it's kind of plushy, and the people are nice. And the world is a bit nicer, and it has nice filters. Instagram is fun. And Instagram is pretty much visual. The community is really important there. You can also find your community on Instagram using hashtags. If you have a hashtag Zero Waste Berlin or Zero Waste Pantry or something, what you're interested in, you can find people look at content that's also fitting to this topic, and you have a first step to this online community. So, well, this is nothing new. We have all done this, right? Step 4. Step 4 is the most important of all, because not all of them do it, because some just decide, okay, I can get my stuff unwrapped, I can get my fruit from the market, and I get my nuts from the market hall, and some people want to go one step ahead. This glass you might know from Lauren Singer and others. Some zero waste videos use this. Look at this. This is the trash I produced in 1 year. And usually it's just completely crap because this is not all the trash you have. Because all this zero waste in the step 4, well, they say that you don't look at the delivery chain. There's a lot of stuff you don't see, and you can't really break it down to this one. And it's not all about trash. It's just about much more, because people looking at their ecological life, they see that the other part of their life isn't so ecological perfect, and you have to step back and ask yourself, what's wrong with my clothes? Who made them? And are they made with modern slavery? Why is organic stuff better than others? These questions are also zero waste. You have to reflect, and you have to see how you can live more organic.
And this fourth step, and people realize their imperfections, and they start sharing their questions, and they start sharing and exchanging ideas. Why is a plane this way? They throw away the food that's not being eaten. What can we do about this? They start asking questions, and they start reflecting. They also start questioning the zero waste movement itself, and they ask, why is it only white, privileged women that are in the pictures? Why is it such a typical thing of young women to open up this Instagram channel and like show these pictures of their lifestyles? Where are the men? Where are the people of color? And one of the answers really is, it is today mainly women who go shopping. It's mainly women who feel like that's their obligation to put food on the table, as in dinner. And like when children all of a sudden they look on the back side and look at what is in these things and look at the ingredients, and so they kind of concern themselves, what do I put on the plate? So it's really it's not about the movement, it's more about what's wrong with our society. And on the subject of privileged, I think I really like this sentence: I was zero waste before blogging was even a thing, only we didn't call it that. It was called desperation then. And that's a quote from a zero waste blog. I really like it because it really brings it to the point. I hear this so much, Milena, yeah, it's so sweet and nice with your like cloth handkerchiefs. We had that back in the days, like these tricks and tips, or like grandma's hints. Like we did that back in the days, all of it. They made like their washing stuff from nature and like that was nothing special. It was that zero waste idea, having stuff that you make yourself, that you reuse, buying stuff that lasts, is not just green and eco, it's also saving money. I think the best example is like a safety razor costs about 30 euros. Wouldn't that last long? But if I buy one where you can exchange the top bits, you get to 30 euros. Who knows Ruby cups? Yay! All the hands are rising. Great. So Ruby cup, the menstrual cup for the present men, it's a small silicone cup that you can fold, and you put that in your vagina, and then you collect your menstrual blood, and you dish it into the sink. You don't know the questions I've been asked. Like, it's really hygienic. You save tampons. You don't buy tampons anymore. You save a lot of tampons per year. I think 11,500 tampons is the amount of tampons she uses in her whole life. It's not just a lot of money. It's also very ungreen. But that's a different subject. I'm kind of diverging here. So zero waste is a way of saving money. Who knows what day was Wednesday? It was an eco-important day. It was the Earth Overshoot day. Yes, not really a day to celebrate. I cried, actually. I didn't laugh. Earth Overshoot day means that on Wednesday we generated the amount of CO2 that we as humans should have used up for the whole entire year, so that the climate change is not progressed or continuously. So there's a certain sum that is defined, and that was reached on Wednesday. So every year this day changes. Every year this day is sooner and sooner. It doesn't shift by days, it shifts by weeks. So the newspapers on this day that's why they titled "We Live on Credit." We take what's for our kids and our children's. We're taking a credit and a loan on their backs. And I mentioned in the beginning, I didn't mention in the beginning, I don't really think plastic is bad. Plastic is not our enemy. It's not our final enemy. If we look at this table, I know this looks complicated, but if we look at it, plastic and recycling, this whole subject of garbage is really more in like 8th position. And if we look at the emission that it generates in compared to other things, it's like a small fart. And you have to really be aware of that, this kind of realization. This realization have a lot of people that do zero waste in their journey. And that all happens in step 4, that you kind of concern yourself with your own eco-balance and your footprint. In position 5 is eating meat. In 4th is regular power, especially from nuclear or coal. Eco really has changed. Eco used to be so expensive. Don't you think like that? Back in the days, like that's the stuff that people that money buy. But I think that changed. Like I just changed our power supplier, and now I pay 3 years less, where I have a green supplier. Like look into it. It's not that expensive anymore. Times are changing. In place 3 are transatlantic flights. So just one-way transatlantic, Berlin to LA, ruins the CO2 emission of one person for 1 year. There's no eating meat, there's no driving, there's no fridge in that kind of calculation. So you've been in LA once, you kind of have to go back home. So there and back, you basically consume 2 years of your CO2 emission. So not really sexy, isn't it? So you see flying is really bad. Then there's car driving, and then there are babies. I did really good on this. Babies are not that bad, and it's not by like not giving birth, but like we're producing another human that is going to consume a lot. So that's basically the issue with this. That's why I don't have that many issues with having kids, because it's up to us how we raise them, what kind of values we pass on, what kind of solutions we possibly have up until the point when they're raising them. So maybe we've solved some of the problems, or you maybe don't use condoms, however you want to explain this to yourself. Step 5. Step 5 is form a group. You remember? There's 6 steps. You're almost done. So step 5 is, if you look at other hashtags, you can see that these people are quite active online, but they rarely do things offline. But this happens here. Like they meet in groups, they meet via hashtags, and they meet up to exchange, and they discuss things, they exchange recipes, they listen to lectures. And the main reason for this is that they want to meet people who have similar values, people that are like them. And it is really cool if you go out for food when you bring your own cutlery and your own box and your own cup, and you're not really the only idiot that came with his whole camping equipment. There's only 10 others. It's kind of reassuring, and it motivates you that other people take it as seriously as you do, and it works. And my most favorite example is the one from the Zero Waste group in Los Angeles. They meet up for a year now. They organize via Facebook. Once a month they meet, and they're about as far that they go on camping trips together. They do stands where they inform people locally and where they get people more into the movement. And so step 6 is the real activism. Activism for me starts when you leave the house, when you stop looking at your phone, when you do things, when you actually do things. Because as pretty as all of this is, what I've told, all of this is about consume and consumption. Those are all decisions that we have as civil citizens. But the most impact we don't have as civilians. It's politicians. It's politicians who can apply pressure to companies. So we can't just show by consuming and non-consuming, but we can also do it by going out on the street, by doing real activist work. And you can address companies, you can go and do marches, you do lectures and talks like this one today, that you sign petitions, that you really try to take influence on politicians. Because at the end of the line, the responsibility is not just up to us consumers, it's also with the companies. We're not personally for the destruction of the rainforest in order to generate palm oil. It's the companies that have to have, that don't care as long as people buy and they don't demonstrate and boycott. So I think but there's also the other option where you can take influence via the politicians, and we have to be aware of this. Here's the good example from Zero Waste Chicago. They're super active in this regard. I realize I'm missing a piece of paper, so I now have to say smart things and improvise a little. I can do that. How much is it worth? Like, Milena, how much is it worth? That one straw that you're not using, what is it worth that one person is living without waste? Who benefits from this? To be honest, on the level of CO2, nothing probably. But what it does bring about is that 4 years ago I had to explain to people what's unwrapped and how you do it and what's zero waste. And today people know. And today, those are all like headlines from today. The EU really is considering to forbid plastic cutlery, and microplastic is about to be ruled out in all of EU. Even like stores, cheap supermarkets are getting rid of their plastic wrapping, and they're starting to work with glass jars. And the broader public is aware of this. This zero waste trend is really spread out now. And my favorite example is 3 African countries, Rwanda, Morocco, and damn it, there's a third one. Sorry, guys. A third country where Kenya, yeah, there we go. I just remembered. Where plastic bags are forbidden. They're prohibited. It's not just plastic bags. It's also one-way plastic wrapping that's forbidden. And these countries have become so clean, and I mean, all of that's pretty and nice, but plastic and recycling is not our major problem when we want to stop climate change. Our major problem is, the thing is that plastic bags are a small thing, but they're a starting point. We've seen what some people can do that are neglecting to use plastic straws, and that's what they can do. Look at it. Just imagine what we could all do if more people joined. A plastic bag might just be a small gadget, but it is a small step of these 6 steps. It's a first step in this beautiful eco-activist world. Thank you.